welcome to our first roundtable webinar. I'm excited to do this with you. We have a lot of people from our staff. We have somebody here, a special guest to talk about insurance. And I hope that this will be really beneficial to you and really helpful to decide some tournament best practices. So if you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to leave them in the Q&A. Should be kind of on the side of your screen, and we will get to them after in the live Q&A portion. So at any point, just leave those there, and we'll be happy to circle back to them. So before we get into it, though, I mentioned we have somebody on here for insurance. Michael McKeon is here, and he's going to talk about tournament insurance from his company. So we are going to spotlight him here in just 1 second. Hey, Michael, welcome to our webinar. We're excited to have you here. Before we get started, tell us about what you do in your partnership with our company.
Absolutely. So I appreciate the invite, and I'm happy to have a seat at the table here. So I also appreciate you getting my last name correct, McKeon. You nailed it. So again, thank you very much. Michael McKeon, I'm the Vice President of Underwriting at Leo Insurance. We have partnered with Pickleball.com to provide tournament directors with insurance when they need it. So, you know, when you're setting up a tournament, we've partnered with Pickleball.com to embed that experience within the overall experience of setting up a tournament, and have tried to make it seamless and efficient for tournament directors to get what they need and when they need it.
And talk a little bit about why do tournament directors or tournaments need insurance, and what do you guys offer?
Yeah, so I think, you know, I mean, really it's 4 key points. One, I just addressed in giving you when you need it and making it efficient, but really 3 key things of why you need insurance. And I'll start with the obvious. Unfortunately, it's a hard reality, but accidents can and will happen. And I sound like my father when I was a little kid, but you know, it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt, or accidents can and will happen. But that is the reality of the world that we live in. And insurance, you know, for all of us, it's never really the first thing that we think to go get, but it is the first thing we look to when an accident happens. So to give everybody just a quick example, or just put things into perspective, I think it's always helpful to give a real life example. But you know, recently we saw a claim, and this was not involved with Pickleball.com, so nobody panic. But we saw a claim with a tournament where an individual stepped into a court, and the step was loose, and the individual fell and broke her wrist. So she suffered from a fractured wrist. At the end of the day, after legal fees, medical bills, we're looking at about $75,000 claim. So I think that helps really put things into perspective when you're hosting a tournament. Maybe it's a $50 entry fee, and your revenues, you know, are maybe they're north of $75,000, maybe not, but that can be a big number to stare down the barrel of. And that's the reality, is that claims can cost a significant amount of money in the world we live in today. So something just as simple as a trip and fall, somebody hurts themselves, you never want that to happen. But when it does happen, or if it does happen, you're looking to an insurance carrier to help you out in that situation. So that's the obvious. That's number one. And our policy, you know, I mean, it's protected. It's intended to protect you from accusations of negligence. It extends to where you host the tournaments, which brings me to my second point, and perhaps you know, most importantly, or second most important, second point on the list here, your venues require it. So if you're hosting a tournament at a venue, a stadium, wherever it might be, the venue most times is going to require that you carry insurance, 1, and 2, that you name them on the policy as an additional insured. So we can do that. We have blanket additional insured wording on our standard policy that we give out, and then we can also specifically name the venue on the policy if needed. And then number 3, we understand the space. This is what we do. This is what we are in business to cover. We are an insurance carrier with a heavy focus in sports and events. So that comes with tournaments, pickleball tournaments. That's why we're all here today. So what do we cover? Well, we cover the tournament for one. We cover all of the directors. So we cover the directors of the tournaments, the staff, the volunteers, and any and all activities associated with setup and teardown of the tournament. So I think that gives kind of your three key points. And I have my final point here, really, which was what I highlighted early on. But we've made it easy for tournament directors to get what they need when they need it in partnering with pickleball.com. So we're super appreciative of the opportunity to embed an insurance experience within the tournament setup. And we think that the value that we've added and the value that pickleball.com brings to the table, coupled together, is an enormous value add. So we're excited about it. We've had some good success so far, and we're looking forward to any and all feedback, which is where I can, I guess, pause for a second, but I'll drop my information in the chat, and I hope that also goes out to everybody attending the call. We're always looking for feedback. We encourage it. We welcome it. We want to find ways that we can get better. So I will make sure that my information goes into the chat and that it goes out after this roundtable.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And if you guys want to contact Michael, get in touch with him. Like he said, he'll leave his contact info in the chat, and get in touch to ask more questions about tournament insurance, or you can leave a question for him. As I said, I know he's going to keep a prize on the chat for a little bit here too. So thanks, Michael, for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you.
Yeah.
All right. We are to our tournament team will come. This is a fun thing for me. We have a lot of our customer service team, some of our training team, and I'm excited to do this portion to just let tournament directors know some of our strategies on how we feel like we run good tournaments. And I know when I was starting out, I got some helpful feedback from TDs. Actually, GGI, you trained me. I don't know if you remember that. It was eons ago. But before we get started on all that, let's do a few just quick intros. If I haven't said it already, my name is Jenna. I am the customer service adoption manager here. So I'm in charge of doing webinars and working on building a YouTube kind of training database for you guys. And I've been running tournaments for about 3 or so years. Biggest one being around 500 players or so, and started out pretty small. So next, let's go to Brandon. Tell us a little bit about you and how long you've been running tournaments and your experience here.
All right, guys. So thanks for having me, Jenna. Name is Brandon Schmeling. I've been in tournaments now for a little over 12 years. I started with the original Pickleball Tournaments software in Melissa McCurley. And then when we swapped over and merged with Pickleball Brackets, I came along for the ride there. I have over 100 different tournaments that I've run between both softwares. Over the last 3 years, before taking this customer service job with pickleball.com, my main focus was as the PPA and the APP's registration coordinator. So I did a lot of work on major events, over 1,000 players plus on average. And that all kind of culminated in 2003 when I was the registration coordinator for the US Open. So that was quite a step up with over 5,000 different entries and lotteries and draws and stuff. So a lot of experience gained there. And just, that helped me kind of step into this position that I'm holding with Pickleball now. So it's fantastic. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Gigi, how about you? Tell us a little bit about you.
Great. I've been playing for about 13 years and just got right into running tournaments in my local area about 12 years. So I've been running tournaments for about 12 years. I used to do it by hand, and then came across with pickleball tournaments. Once I started doing that, I was like, wow, this is so much easier than by hand. And then I came across pickleball brackets, and about that time they were looking for someone to come on the customer service part. So I've been with them about 3 years now, and then they did their merge with pickleball brackets. And I literally, the first 3 times I used pickleball brackets, I teared up and say, where have you been all my life? I just love the software. I even asked if it had an older brother, but it didn't. I do I average around 40 tournaments a year, and it's just a great experience. And I've just started working with the league side of the software. So besides tournaments and leagues, I'm really thankful to be a part of that too. Just love seeing people out there exercising and having fun.
Sure. And Gigi and I are going to do a webinar. I think the next one is going to be on how to set up a league. So keep an eye out for that one too in a couple weeks, and we'll get you guys all trained up on how to start a league via webinar. So Gigi, thanks for being here. Patty, how about you? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Patty Gallegos. Thanks for having me as well. I started playing pickleball about 10 years ago, and I just love the community of it, and I wanted to give back to the game. So I started running tournaments and helping running tournaments, and so for the last 6 or 7 years, I just have run tournaments. I just started with pickleball.com like 3 months ago. It's absolutely amazing company, and I love the team and the camaraderie. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for being here. All right, last but not least, Katie, tell us a bit about you.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on this show. And I've been playing pickleball for about 10 years and started helping a friend of mine who was putting on a lot of little events and tournaments and stuff. And we were just talking the other day about how we kind of miss doing it paper and pencil just a little bit, because we used to have these big get-togethers with all these scorecard papers, and it's like, here, you write out that bracket and I'll write it. We did it all by hand, but it was kind of fun to get together. But we quickly realized that was very time consuming. There had to be some software out there. We did start our first couple of events with pickleball tournaments, and then found pickleball brackets. And thankfully, the main person working then was Janice, who was super amazing, trained me how to use the software. And then, she invited me to come on. This was back when there was like 1 page of tournaments on pickleball brackets. And so I've really enjoyed, I'm a retired teacher, so I really enjoy, just the helping aspect of it, and working with people who are starting out brand new, and helping them get used to, and, running the tournament, everything that's needed to do that. And, I remember it was very scary the first time, but, just hop in there and do it and you'll be good. So really appreciate working with this whole group is really fantastic.
Awesome. So as you guys can hear, there's a lot of tournament experience here. So let's get into some of the things what we think makes a good tournament. So before what's your favorite format to run, Brandon?
So for myself, we're really starting to gear towards the round robin, that guaranteed play for the players. That's just, as the landscape has changed over the time, going from those double eliminations, players that are traveling a distance, they want to be guaranteed those games. So having them come over, make sure they get that play in has been really crucial, and really for grabbing those players outside of our immediate area and bringing them into a new competition with new players they've never played before. So
Yeah, I agree. I think my round robin is, I don't know that I've run a tournament that's not round robin. Gigi, how about for you?
I agree with Brandon. I used to do a lot of double eliminations, and people were waiting, and I even played in a lot of double eliminations. If you lose in 2 matches, then you're done for the day. But at least a round robin, you've gotten to compete against everyone in your bracket. And then moving on to the round robin, even if I lost and came in last, I still felt like I got more game, and I did my best in what I was doing. So I feel that round robin is one of the most popular.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is what you asked.
Patty, what about you? Same thing?
Yep, I would agree. I used to just do double elimination or round robin, and now I like the round robin with the playoff, which I think is kind of a newer thing too, which I like the gold medal match aspect of being able to feel like you're still in that gold medal match. So yeah, I agree with both of them.
Yep. Katie?
Yep.
So I do love a round robin, but I think one of the formats that I love and the players really love is the scramble. So you don't have to have a certain partner to get into a scramble. You enter as an individual, and I think one of the cool things about it is you can lose every game and still come in second, because it's all based on how many points did you score, throughout all of your games. You just kind of add that up, and so, there's not so much focus put on wins, losses, but, stay in the game and try to get as many points as you can. And that makes it fun.
For sure. What about the average cost in your area for tournaments? I'll say in my area, we range from $50 to, I would say, maybe 90 is average, with maybe the exception of the really big tournaments, right? But Katie, let's start with you. What's kind of the average price just for the registration piece?
Just the registration is usually around $50 to $75 in our area.
Yeah. Patty, what about you?
I was going to say 40 to 50, and then usually you add in the event cost as well. So that would end up being about the 60.
Gigi?
Yeah.
I'm with Katie. We're about 50 to 75, and we're in the southwest of the states.
Yep. And Brandon, what about for you?
Well, I'm up here with Jenna in the same location, but when we're having outdoor tournaments, generally those are a little bit cheaper, and just because you don't have those indoor venue costs. But outdoor, somewhere in the $40 to $50 range, and then when you go indoors, because you are paying for those venues, normally it's 50 to 60 range at least, just to make up the difference for that payment that you have to make.
And then what about for each event? Does it depend on the tournament? Do you guys charge extra as people register for multiple events? Do you include? So I think with I run a various range of tournaments. One of them has the registration includes all of your events. Some of them is the registration includes one event, which I would say is the most common for me, and then about $5 to $10 for an extra event. Patty, what is something that you see as the extra cost per event, or none for your area?
Well, I mean, it just depends, but $10 to $15 per event, depending on your registration cost as well. And then I find in money events, or the higher level of somebody, if they want to win money, that event cost goes up to $30. So yeah, that's about average, I'd say.
Gigi, what about for you?
Usually depends. We're trying to keep the cost around $100 basically in the area, and that's so depending on what the registration is and adding that up, so we can kind of keep it around $100 seems to make a lot of players happy. I do agree with Patty though, if you're doing a cash event, adding that additional cost so you can make the prize money worth their wanting to enter that. But also, Jenna, you talked about having one straight fee. I call that a flat rate fee. So a lot of fundraisers will do that, maybe $50, $60 for flat rate. They can play one or two events, but because they're going to do more at the event, but with raffles and things like that to earn the money for the fundraiser.
For sure. Katie, what about for you?
We're in the $10 to $15 range, but I think when you're trying to decide what this amount should be, you kind of want to look at what is it going to cost you for that player to be in a second event. So if they go on and play a second event and they win, that's a medal. And how much are the medals? So you want to make sure that as you're deciding on this number, that it's going to cover the cost of that player being in, an additional event.
And Brandon, anything else to add for that? What do you see as well?
Yeah, I think I would agree with Katie in that sense. If I have a tournament that I know is going to have a hard time filling up, and we're just trying to get as many players in as possible, I usually don't charge an additional event fee. I charge one flat rate, and that encourages the players to get more of a bang for their buck, to come out and play multiple days. If I'm running a tournament that's indoor and I'm going to have to pay a certain amount per day to run those events, then I'm going to charge a higher rate. If I charge a $50 registration and includes that first event, I'm probably looking at charging an additional $20 for that secondary event. And that's just really to cover those court costs for that secondary day. So just depends if indoor, outdoor, or if my tournaments are going to be, breaking down the doors and filling, or if I'm just trying to really encourage people to come out.
For sure. Last kind of rapid fire question, and then we'll get into some more targeted questions here. Do you guys do tournament insurance? Katie, we'll start with you.
We do not typically buy the extra insurance because a lot of our tournaments are being held in the venue where our club is. So it's already kind of included in the memberships and stuff like that. But, and I've seen some people figure out their own insurance in their own way, just to cover if you have to cancel.
Right. I think we lost Gigi for a quick second. I know she had something. Patty, what about for you?
I'm kind of in the same situation. I have not bought insurance. I'm usually working under another entity. So I was working for a club, and then I was working for a organization that, they did all that insurance stuff. I'm not even sure if they did. I was just doing the operations side of things for them. So I have not had personal experience with buying insurance.
Brandon, I think you have experience with insurance. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I do. So I highly recommend that you look into purchasing insurance, or adding insurance to cover the players into a tournament. As Michael had mentioned, we have a lot of instances that can happen out there where it's not, technically the tournament's fault, but it could be something, there's a freak accident that happens on site. And you don't want to be left in that situation where, a tournament registration may average bringing in somewhere around, if it's a smaller tournament, $10,000 to $20,000. And if you run into an incident where somebody gets injured and you're on the hook for the amount that he was talking about, I mean, that takes all of your profit away. But by covering yourself, making sure that, if something happens, we're taking care of the players, even if it isn't our issue or our accident, that, we're taking care of them. And just that peace of mind, to know that something is in place. Most venues may have their insurance already to cover that, but if they don't, the LIO option that we offer is fantastic and something I would highly recommend.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. We've had to get insurance for most of our venues as well. It's mostly like parks and, like Michael said, naming the additional insured. They want to make sure that they are named so that in case there is something that happens at the local park or the local facility is not liable for whatever accident happens. So let's get into some more kind of targeted questions. Brandon, what is the biggest change that you have seen in running tournaments over the years?
Well, there's quite a few changes. 10 years ago when we really started, round robin wasn't really a thing unless you had a low turnout in an event. So if you had only 4 or 5 players, running a double elimination event didn't really make sense. But most events were double elimination. I think we started to see that back when there were only a handful of tournaments in your area. Everybody went to every tournament. If you played pickleball, you just had to drive to that event. Now that we're seeing events popping up all over the place, there's lots of options. So how do you get the players to come into your tournament and make sure that it's worth it to them to choose you over another tournament. So that guaranteed play option of round robin has really started to flourish because of that. That's what the players are demanding more now. I used to have players come to a tournament when I would give them 4 matches in a round robin, and they loved it. And now when I tell them that they're getting 4 matches in a round robin, they say, that's it. So, they're looking and being kind of pushed more towards having that additional matches, and they're expecting it now as they continue to move forward. The other big thing is the cost of everything. If you're, used to be able to purchase just screen print shirts, at $5 per person, and that's gone way up. So if you're offering shirts now and you're wanting to offer a nice shirt, it could be upwards of $10. So the costs of that, and not only the shirts and the medals, but also the venues. More and more, these venues, especially tennis venues, are starting to realize, hey, you know what? Tennis might not be filling up these courts, but pickleball sure will. So they're starting to come out with higher pricing. Instead of just giving you the court rate for a tennis court at $20 an hour, they're starting to charge people $10 or $20 an hour per pickleball court out there. So as the venues are opening up and providing more opportunities, the costs are starting to go up. So, we've really seen that that skew of those tournaments going higher up in price, but it's not that the tournaments are actually bringing in all of that. It's just the costs have really geared towards an increase in those registration fees.
And I would love for you to also quick chat about, because you've been doing a few more money events too. And I feel like that, especially for you, Brandon, I know you've done a few of those. You see that might be the next trend, possibly, is doing money events for more brackets than just like the top.
Yeah, so I think it adds another layer of excitement. Now that Duper is officially integrated with our platform, we have that official rating and it's in place. And Duper has the match experience to really start formulating accurate ratings now that they've been with us for a while and all those matches are going in. So having those in place, we can actually add prize money to all skill levels. We don't have to hold it just for an open event anymore. So I'm running an event that is offering $550 prize money for every single person that comes in there. So a lot of that is sponsors that came in and were giving us that $20,000 worth of prize money to spread out. But also we're taking a portion of that event fee, as Patty had said before. When they're coming in, we're charging a $50 registration to cover our fees, but then we're charging an additional $40 event fee. And we're taking, almost all of that event fee and pooling it into that event so that when the players sign up, the more teams that sign up for that event, the higher the payout. And we actually had a 3.5 50 plus event that had over 18 teams, and we ended up paying out over $1,500 to the top 3 teams that played. So it's a great driving option for skill levels to experience something that usually is only available to those open or 5.0 plus players.
Yeah, that's cool. I love to see. I do think that might become a more popular thing. Gigi, you have done a ton of training, I feel like, in the past couple years at pickleball.com. What's in your opinion a very common issue that you see with tournament directors that you feel like they should be more proficient in learning? What's something that in your mind you're like, hey, make sure you are proficient in? What is it?
Great. And I'm so happy to answer this. We have built in our system as a simulator. In other softwares, you had to wait for registration to finish to kind of calculate what your schedule is going to be. But our simulator is awesome. You can kind of estimate how many players you could fit in a day and see if you really can make that day happen. How long can these matches be? Are you going to be able to do the playoffs? Well, all the different ways that you can time your day within that simulator. I use it 3 times in a tournament before I open registration to make sure I can fit in all the brackets and all the sizes that I'm thinking of. And I can talk to the tournament director and say, look, we might have a little too many events here. We might need to shorten them down, or we have room for more. And then as the registrations are coming in, I can see if I need to expand brackets and change when I'm going to be playing those brackets. So the simulator is incredible for that. And then I use it once registrations close, because I've been working with it as it goes along, but it's a great way to not have to go into each event and change everything. You can just easily push the times over to the events and it's ready for the live console. So to me, it's just the most incredible piece of software that we have built right within the system, that if you can learn how to use that, and I know you did a training on that just recently. To me, it's one of the biggest things. It's so heartbreaking to get someone on the phone that has overbooked their day, and it keeps showing they're going to run to 11 or 11:30 at night. And I don't know many players that want to play that late in the day. So really getting a concept of that before you start, to me, that would be the biggest thing to learn, besides how to run the day of the event.
For sure. I agree too. The simulator is such a big and powerful tool for that. Anybody else have anything to add? A common issue that you guys see with tournament directors besides the simulator and running that? Simulator it is. Nope. It's a big thing.
It is a great tool.
Yeah, it's a big thing. So Patty, what Gigi was just talking about overbooking tournaments, and that's a big challenge to overcome. What is something, like one of the biggest challenges that you have had to deal with as a tournament director, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, several years ago, I would have said the printer, that printing issues, and that has been fixed. So I think probably the biggest thing that I had to figure out is when players go and they play the wrong format, or they decide they want to go play on their own and run through games, and out of order, and they just do their own thing. So if players play the wrong format, what I have usually done is do like a point differential with that. Like if they played to 15 and they were supposed to play to 11 and it was 15-10, I would just enter it as 11-6 into the system. That's usually how I handled it. And I think if depending on if the players go off and do this on their own out of spite or just not knowing, it just depends. I think I usually just will have a talk with them and educate them and say, like, this is not the way we do things, and you need to please, and teach them basically. So that can be a challenge, but that was the main one.
Perfect. Anybody else have anything to add? Any tournament challenges that you have had to overcome?
I can think of a time that.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, you're good. I was just going to say, in the same sense of what Patty was kind of saying with printing issues, you have to be prepared and prepare yourself for internet issues. We're running the entire software online. Now, what happens if we get to our location the day of and our Wi-Fi is not working? Kind of like mine's not right now, and I can't get my picture to stay up. So, what can we do to make sure that we're set up in a way that if we're having issues and we go down for a while, how can the tournament continue? So, every time you create a bracket in our software, you have the ability to print those brackets. And a lot of tournaments will have hard copies up on a wall that they have people updating from the software as they go along. Having a backup hard copy with you in your tournament desk area in case the internet goes down and you have to, go back to that and rely on doing it by pen and paper for a while until an internet connection comes back or something like that is crucial. I mean, always set yourself up for those what if situations and be prepared to, take care of that. If you're doing individual score sheets for each court, make sure you print out about 50 blank ones and just have them and take them to tournaments with you just in case it goes down for a while and you have to handwrite those and you can't print those. You can still access the tournament, but the printer doesn't want to print out those new ones. We can still put them on court and we can still go ahead and handwrite those out and send them, and the tournament will continue. So just making sure that you're taking those steps to prepare yourself for the what ifs. That way, no matter what happens, you're going to have a good event.
Yeah, I love it. Katie, what were you going to add?
Yeah, that was what I was going to talk about, because I did have an experience where I went the day before. The Wi-Fi was great, everything was awesome. I get there the day of, and the Wi-Fi was like not working at all. And so literally, and this is one of the things I tell people who are running tournaments. I'm like, just figure a way to get people on court. So I just took the bracket. It was a round robin, so it made it really easy. I just took the whole bracket and I gave them a sheet of paper, and I was like, okay, y'all go over there and play somebody. Y'all go over there and play somebody, and once they're on court, like, you have time to just like take a deep breath and, what am I going to do? Kind of thing. So if you just kind of get the players out and playing, then you have time to actually think without people, coming up to you and going, what are we going to do? And why aren't we on, but having a screenshot of what the bracket looks like. So I do that from now on. I just print out what the round robin looks like, and that way I have it with me. If that happens, I can, go through and just add the scores in later, but just tell who to play who where based on that picture. So.
And Katie, this next question is actually directed at you. How do you handle tournament disputes? What's kind of your go-to solution, or how do you kind of channel your inner peacemaker in that scenario?
So in our area, we have quite a few people who are already certified referees, and also in training to do that. And so we usually try to find a way to make sure that at least one of those people are at the tournament each day. And, that way, if players can't resolve their issues, then we have an official person we can send over. They know the rules. I also always keep our rule books handy and that kind of thing. But, if you don't have a resource like that, you just need to have one singular person that is going to solve problems. And, if you have a couple of people, then it's like, well, so-and-so said this, so-and said, which one are we going to follow? So just designate a single person that all the disputes go to, so that there's one answer, and then that's what we're going with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I actually had last weekend, I was running a tournament, and I had a couple people who were mid-match, and they asked for a tournament director. So I went over there, what's the problem? Before I could ask them what the problem was, they were like yelling at each other across the net, and then the guy on the sidelines got involved, and I had to raise my voice at grown adults to say, you guys need to take it down. This is not helping anybody. We need to be able to have a civilized conversation about this. You on the sidelines, you need to stay out of it. I will talk to you later. Tell me what the issue is. And just like it's you almost have to understand that intensity that people have, that competitiveness, and that's kind of what amps them up in that moment, right? And the crazy part, though, was I thought I solved the issue, walked away, and then there was another issue. So my business partner ended up staying there for the match and kind of watched the rest of it. And then I just was feeling very led to talk to them. So they finished their match, and I said to them, I called them all together. I went over back to their court. I was like, hey, you guys come here for fun. This is supposed to be a fun environment. I shouldn't have to raise my voice at grown women and kind of get you guys to settle down. We've got to be able to have civilized conversations instead of defending yourself. Like, let's just take a breath and talk about it. And they ended up apologizing to each other. Well, one team apologized, the other one kind of stayed silent. But it was just I thought they left at least with half of an apology. And what they do from there is out of my control. But I felt like at least I could do my part as a tournament director to at least try to say, like, give the impression, you know what, I care. I want you guys to feel like you can come back instead of leaving with like, well, that team was super sour, you know? So I just think it's really important for tournament directors to put on that kind of compassion hat and problem solving hat. Anybody else have anything to add in terms of how to solve tournament disputes?
If you wouldn't mind, I'd love to just, I think these are all great points. And one of the things I had a referee tell me one time, going out to the court to handle a dispute is like going out and hearing two different stories. There's, two truths, and then there's the real truth. And what I've learned is if I can just separate them on each side of the court and give them, I'll tell them, I'm going to listen to both of you, and then I'm going to make a decision, and my decision will stick. But then I give them their time to talk. The biggest thing I would tell to a player out there is if that person's talking to the one team, don't interrupt. Don't start arguing with the other team. You'll get your chance, and I'm going to listen to both sides, because then you're just escalating things. And then but I totally agree with you that you can't take it personally as a TD, that it's that competitive draw and drive that they have that's steering that volatility. And you might have raised your voice. I call it using my mom voice, but and, so I'm like, I thought I was over those days, but it happens, and usually they'll come back and go, okay. And sometimes, like you said, I'll talk to the player later, especially if they're new to tournaments, just saying, this would have been a better way to handle it. And just kind of, I love how Patty said earlier, just trying to educate them and just, make it a better experience for the next time. Because I've had my days. I'm not perfect. So.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Switching gears. Brandon, how do you determine how many points to play? Like, do you, you said you run a lot of round robin. So kind of what's like your favorite format in your head in terms of, how, if you have a certain number of teams, what do they play for? Do you have a kind of set standard for them?
Generally, we're looking at, again, are we full? Is the tournament full? Is it going to fill? Do I know if it's going to fill? Sometimes I'll set a format ahead of time. If I know this tournament is going to be completely full, I will put my format out there and list that in my added description section right on the front of the tournament listing. So the players signing up understand exactly what they're getting into. So it may say something like, 4 teams, we're going to run this as a double round robin with games to 15. If we have 5 teams, we're going to play a single round robin with matches 2 out of 3. If we're 7 or not 7 to 9, we're doing a single round robin with games to 15. So then I'm going to take all that information and I'm going to punch it into my simulator. Once I've created my events, figure out those times. Now, generally, if you're playing a game to 11, that's somewhere in the 15 to 20 minute range. A game to 15, somewhere in that 25 to 30. And then generally we do 2 out of 3 in the 45 minute to 50 minute section in there. So we're punching those times into a simulator. We're getting a printout of what our max day will look like for the number of teams. And then I'm just going to continue to just test that out, just to see what works, just to see what gets me to the numbers that I want. So those are generally the formats that I use in a round robin. I prefer 1 game to 15 instead of 2 out of 3 because nothing throws off a schedule like a 2 out of 3 bracket in the middle of the day to have a couple of matches and rounds go an hour and a half and put you behind for the day. Mm-hmm. So my round robin matches are generally 1 to 15. But yeah, just putting that stuff in there, getting that guaranteed play in, and just running those to the best of your ability for what you expect the turnout to be.
Awesome. And I just quick checked over to the live Q&A, and we have a slew of questions coming in. So I'm going to keep rolling here. Patty, what do you do for swag bags? What is commonly used for your swag bags?
Well, usually you can get the bags from Pickleball Central, usually donated. Those are those orange bags that we all have, about 100 of them probably. Try to get the sponsors to donate things that you can put into your bags. If it's at a venue, the venue likes to advertise. Sometimes if you have a food truck, you can get a coupon. But yeah, I think it's just you want to impact the players that they're like leaving here going, this was the best tournament. I loved, that's why we're all doing it, is I love pickleball. This is so cool. Look at this bag I got. Look at this hat I got. But usually it's just stuff from sponsors that we include. Yeah.
If you all watching are in the chat, maybe put in the chat what's your best swag bag item that you feel like you have given out. We've done sweat towels, t-shirts. I have heard some people kind of grumble about like, oh, another t-shirt, but some people are like, I love the t-shirt. So I would be curious if there's any other ideas. I thought I read somewhere on the socials that tournament director did sweatshirts one time, which would be super expensive, but if you're building that into your cost, then why not? And then I thought I had read blankets somewhere as well. So
wow,
random ideas, but make sure you build that stuff into the cost of your tournaments as well. Katie, how do you decide what age and skill brackets to split? And then how do you determine if you're going to medal them separately or keep them all together?
So one of my favorite ways to set up registration is by using the age split feature. So I'll do like men's 3-0, and then within that event, put in my age split. So maybe 18 to 39, 40 to 49, and then 50 and above, or, whatever like that. And then as registration's going, if one of those age groups actually gets larger than the other, then I can split it. So if I know about how many people I want in a bracket, my favorite number, by the way, is 7 for a round robin. It's just, odd is definitely key because there's always that team waiting. But 7 is a nice, it takes about 2.5, 3 hours. So the people aren't there like all day long and whatever. But anyway, if something gets really large, then I just adjust the age groups with the age split screen. And that's really nice. So sometimes you don't really know which ones are going to, balloon out. And so we just start it with regular age splits and then make adjustments as the registrations are happening. If I need them to be a little lopsided, I would lean towards the, the older brackets, probably having fewer teams. And then the younger folks like to play a whole lot of games. So, we would keep those a little bit larger if I wasn't really concerned with it being a certain number. And then if I end up merging, some of that kind of depends sometimes about like the level of player, like a 3-0. If I can give a 3-0 player that's doing their first tournament a medal, that's going to just make their life, And then there's others, if I merge them and then I split it back out for, when you get to higher level players, they're like, well, I don't want a participation medal. So, it's kind of, if your clientele, the people that are coming to your brackets, to your tournaments, I think knowing your people will help you make that decision a little bit better. Like, are they going to look at this as a participation medal or, look what I got. This is really awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, question for everyone real quick. What are ways in which you keep your tournament players wanting to come back? I'll start. For me, I think that's setting up good communication ahead of time, giving the the good vibe going into the tournament, what you can expect. Here's how we're going to run it. Here's what we expect from you. And just they have less to worry about. I think giving people good play and lots of play is a good thing. I kind of like to say I'd rather have people complaining about too much play than not enough. So that's how we want people, at least when I run tournaments, one of the ways in which we feel like we keep people coming back to our tournaments. Brandon, what about you?
Making sure that you run on time. That is a crucial one. I like to, when I schedule my times out round robin style for a game, let's say to 15, I always put 30 minutes. You have a lot of indications of, or a lot of different things that can go into there. It's not just the time. that the players are playing, but how long does it take them to get on court and start playing, to warm up, to get off court, to report the scores before you get another match back onto that court? Because all of that is added into that court time. So setting your estimations a little higher will allow you actually to finish maybe even a little early. So if I have a bracket and I have them checking in a half an hour early and their courts are open, everybody's checked in, I'm going to go ahead and start them a half an hour early. And man, I'll tell you what, they're absolutely thrilled if you start them a half an hour early. But in the opposite way, if I went and I estimated the short side of that and said, nah, it's going to average about 20 minutes, and then it's a hot day, everybody take extra time. So now the next event, that doesn't finish until a half an hour later, and the next group starts a half an hour later. Man, they're so upset. It's the end of the world. So, just setting your projections up ahead of time and making sure that when you set that schedule, it's exactly how you want it, and you're taking into account all of these different factors and getting everybody started on time. When the tournament is over, everybody's going to have nothing but praises about how it ran on time, how everything was, it was organized, and you're just going to have a really good experience that people are going to want to come back to.
For sure. Patty, what about you?
It's just kind of along the same lines of, I like to minimize wait time. I know we've all been at tournaments. We've waited 2 hours in between games. And so I just find if you keep the flow going and, there's not a lot of wait time, you got to find that sweet spot. Maybe some people need, 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is, and they don't have to re-warm up and do all that. It also saves times on court. So, yeah, I would say just minimizing the wait time and keeping the flow. Finishing the, it's sometimes I think when you're starting new brackets and you have another bracket that's already running, you want to make sure that you finish that other bracket. For one, it'll open up the courts and stuff, but it just has them not waiting as long. So yeah.
Katie, what about for you?
So I agree with everything that's been said so far as really important aspects of that. So just to throw in another just kind of idea, one of the tournaments that we do here in Augusta, we have a player party. So on Friday night, we schedule the matches to end at like 5 or 6. And then from there, we clear the courts and then we have a player party. So it's, the players can come back in, they can do some open play. We have, once or twice an hour, we have little games for them to play and win prizes. And, so it's just it's a fun, the players are all getting together, they're having fun, they're relaxing, enjoying play, doing these stupid little games, but they win prizes. And, I think just having that fun atmosphere besides the, the stress of competition, just makes it a more fun event for them overall.
Gigi, what about from you?
Sorry, didn't mean to disappear. No, I agree with everything. I think the timely manner is what you're doing. The best compliment I ever received was a man was kind of upset that I put him on the court so fast he couldn't smoke a cigarette. So his wife said she was going to be in every tournament that I ran, so he quit smoking. But keeping them going, there's nothing worse than having to sit around and getting cold between matches. So you come off an on-fire game, so the biggest thing is moving that along and just having a positive attitude. So,
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing your expertise. I'm gonna before we move into the live Q&A, we actually have another guest speaker. Casie Caldwell is here with us. She's going to talk about PT perks here, so we are going to spotlight her in just a sec. All right, Casie, welcome. Thanks for hanging out here in the background while we chat about tournament stuff. Why don't you introduce yourself and give people a little bit of a rundown of what you do here at pickleball.com? Oh, she's muted. Hang on. I think I unmuted you. I got you now. You're good.
Thank you, Jenna, and thanks for having me. My name is Casie Caldwell, and I am a business program manager here at pickleball.com. And what that means essentially is I am here to help our tournament director network grow their pickleball programming. And one of the things that I'm in charge of is my favorite thing to talk about, and it's PT Perks. And so many of you may have heard about PT Perks. It's a free program that's available exclusively to our tournament directors that use our tournament software. And it allows you to connect with our partners and offer meaningful perks like discounts, goodies, special offers to your players. And currently in the program, we have 30 different partner offers, and it's from partners like Selkirk, Yola, Vulcan, Pickleball Central, you name it. And pickleball perks or PT perks range from free balls, electrolytes, hats, and actually even pickleball jewelry. So we're constantly adding partners to the program. And the way that you sign up as a tournament director, I will include that in the chat. But if you're registering your tournament on our software, you will see on the tournament page, it's a checkbox or just a place that you can click to, it just says, would you like to sign up your tournament for PT Perks? And if you click yes, it will take you to the page to do that. So it's really that easy.
That's awesome. I know a lot of tournament directors don't quite know what that is. So I love that you dove deep on that. What other marketing opportunities do we have available for tournament directors that are looking to expand their tournaments?
So yes, I'm glad you asked. There's actually several things available. One of the big ones is email marketing for your tournament. That's something that my team oversees. So if you'd like to email folks in your area that come from our database, our entire database has grown to over 500,000 engaged players. So what we can do is we can send a geo-targeted email blast. We can do that. We typically recommend 200 to 250 miles from your tournament. And essentially you just fill out a form that comes to my team, and we craft the email for you. And upon your approval, we blast that out for you. The way that pricing works on that is it's an 80-20 revenue share. So we collect 20% of any registrations that we send your way. And the way that we know which registrations come from us is we drop an affiliate link on your tournament page, and so that we can track any registrations that convert based on our marketing efforts. The other thing available to you is something we call recommended tournaments, or we sometimes call it a first card ad. If you look at our tournaments page, the very first thing that comes up across the top is recommended tournaments. And the ad that's to the left-hand side says trending on it. That is an advertisement. And essentially it's the same revenue share. And it actually complements email marketing really well because it's just we use the same affiliate link. We don't care if your conversion came from email or if it came from the first card ad, but it's also that 80-20 revenue share. And then the third thing that's really effective is our featured tournament listing. That is not geo-targeted. It's a static listing. It's just below our recommended tournaments page or recommended tournaments section on the tournaments page. It says featured tournaments right there. And the pricing for that is $100 for every 30 days that you advertise. So there's really some great economical options to sign up for that can help reach engaged pickleball players.
And if tournament directors want to sign up for that, how do they get in touch with you, or how should they sign up for that?
So the easiest way is you can send an email to sales@pickleball.com. I'll also include my direct link in the chat as well. So sales@pickleball.com is going to get you right where you need to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Casie, for being here. Appreciate it. And if you have any questions about PT Perks or some special marketing for your tournament, shoot Casie a message, sales@pickleball.com, and she'll be able to help you. Thanks, Casie, for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, let's get over to the live Q&A. All right, we are back. I've got to go get to the Q&A. We have a ton of questions, you guys. I will just try to plow through them. I'll give you guys some questions that I think might be beneficial here. Brandon, I think I'm going to send this one to you. They're asking, doesn't USAPA members have insurance with their memberships? I'm not sure if I know the answer to that question. Do you happen to know the answer to that one? Is he here?
The answer to that is yes. While we are not currently partnered with the new rating system that transfers over into our system, a tournament can still be sanctioned by USA Pickleball in our software, and that does provide them with insurance coverage.
Gigi, Tara said, thank you all so much for your expertise. Gigi helped with our first tournament go around, running a tournament last year. We felt well prepared and supported during the tournament. Excellent service. So compliments to you, Gigi.
Oh, thank you.
Katie, I'm going to direct this one at you. It says, how do you keep your scrambles leveled? It's not really fun if the skill level is wide. What would you recommend there?
I mean, we actually do our scrambles by skill and gender. So, we do like a little summer series here. And so each night is a different gender and skill level. It's really hot down here in Georgia in the summer. So we just run like one scramble a night when we do this. And so they just have to sign up for their skill level and gender. And then, it's just scattered throughout the summer.
That makes sense. Brandon, Eric wrote, I had heard there is a combined team skill level option for setting the divisions. Any update on when that is coming?
So the team format league option is now out. That is something that is going to be made available within probably the next week for anyone to use. So that can be used to run a team format tournament style now. But the actual tournament team format is scheduled to be released early third quarter as of right now. So unfortunately, there are things that pop up that take priority and that gets pushed back, but we're hopeful that will be out very soon.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm excited about the team league thing coming out. That will be a fun thing to work through and learn. Patty, what have you found to be the best strategies for marketing a tournament? Do you post to social media? What do you do in your case?
Definitely social media is the best way to share. Also, you could send an email from your past tournament to the players to just, the players that played in it before, they can, let them know. I think if you're going through a certain club or a certain organization, that them sending it out to their membership base. So yeah, email, social media. I guess there's the flyers that you can put out locally too. But yeah.
Gigi, how would you recommend finding sponsors for your events? Is that something that you have experience in?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
How do you recommend finding sponsors for your events? Is that something that you have experience in?
Usually I'm the one that runs the desk and the directors run the party is what I call it. But I really usually recommend local businesses that want to get their words out. Realtors are usually I see a lot of realtors. Banks will be a part of it. Anyone that's starting a new business, chiropractors, anybody that might need their help after a game has been played, like a podiatry, orthopedic, reaching out to any of those local offices. Those are a lot of the sponsors, but also making sure that you let the public know that you are interested in receiving sponsors. We have a sponsor tab on the tournament page that if they're interested, but it might be something you might want to add to the description. If we are looking for sponsors, if you're interested, these are our different levels. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Karen.
Hey, Jenna.
Yes.
So, I was just to add on top of that, if you're running a not-for-profit, it would be worth contacting large companies just to let them know that that you're available, you're looking for those donations. A lot of those larger companies have a baseline for community affairs, and they're looking to actually unload those funds for tax deductions. So if you are a not-for-profit, I would go find the biggest companies that are in your area and just ask them if they're interested in being a part of the tournament.
I like it. Karen is asking, where are you getting the prize money from for your tournaments? And I would say that's mostly sponsorship money, like Brandon alluded to earlier. What is the breakdown between pro and amateur payouts? Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong. You're not running necessarily pro events, are you? It's mostly just amateur events, but with an open division.
Correct. So if I'm running this and I'm paying out every single division, every single skill level, what I'll normally do is I'll set a 3-0, 50 plus with a $500 payout, and then a 4-0 50 plus with a $500 payout. And then I'll hit my 5.0 and I go 5.0 and above, or 5.0 and open. So I'm not setting it as an actual pro event. It's just an open event that anybody can play in. And I normally do have a little bit of a larger payout in that. If I'm doing 500 for the other skill level events, I'll do a $1,000 open event. This allows players with a lower skill level to come in and test their chances against those higher skill levels if they want, or they can just go ahead and sign up for their skill levels individually. And while sponsorship money is a big part of it, setting that higher event fee is where I go ahead and I find that number. So if we set a bracket at, let's say, $500, and then we're going to go ahead and put a $50 event fee on there, and we're going to take all of that event fee and pool it into that event, then we may say that we have to have a minimum of 5 teams in this event for it to go. That way, the event fee is actually covering the entirety of that setup or that payout for that event.
That makes sense. Jim Young is asking, what successes or challenges have you had with the print spooler versus multiple printers? And Brandon, I'm going to send this one to you too, because you have had experience with both. So, and I know you are now kind of preferring one method over the other. So would you be able to kind of comment on that as well?
Yeah, hey Jim, I haven't talked to you in a while since the last time we talked about the print spooler issue. So the print spooler, was a big part of what we did on pickleballtournaments.com. So it came over with the merger, and there are some positives to the print spooler. A big positive is it just automatically, when it's set up correctly, it automatically prints your next match that is available within an event. You don't have to do any kind of prompting or anything like that. A negative to it is that it is primarily only run on HP. So you can't use Mac, you can't use any of those other devices to run that. And then there were some connection issues if you had multiple events. So what I've actually found from using the built-in print next available matches within pickleball brackets is it works every single time. I've never had a problem with it. So I actually moved away from using the spooler, and I set that print next available match within each event. And what that does is when you start an event and you're putting in your match scores, when you have a match that needs to be printed and you have that turned on, the print prompt will automatically pop up on the screen of the computer that's entering that. And you just have to make sure that that printer or that computer is actually attached to a printer, and just hit OK, and it will print out that next available match, just like the spooler did. So it's just one additional step in that sense. It does the same thing the spooler does. It's just going to ask you if you want to print instead of just automatically printing it.
Mm-hmm. Marcy is asking, what about the cost of referees? And Katie, you mentioned having at least a referee there for your tournament. I think it's just kind of something to factor in your overall tournament cost. Do you have anything extra to add there?
Not really, because in our area, they are pretty much volunteering their time. You know, they belong to the clubs and venues where we're running the tournament. So it's kind of their way of giving back to where they belong. And the bigger tournaments that I run, like Kitchen Open, whatever, like they do all of that from the director perspective. I just come in as operations, so I'm not as familiar with how much it costs to do the referees.
Yeah. And I would say check with some local referees. There's some in every area, I want to say, and see how much they charge and see what it's worth to you to either have someone on site or have referees ref your entire match. So just build that into your total tournament estimated cost. This one I'm not entirely sure I understand. Joan is asking the coupon page, is that for local food sources, hotels, and we create the coupon based on their offerings? Does anybody know what that question is? All right, it doesn't sound like
it sounds like that might be, it sounds like it might be a combination of just the confusion between the discount code possibly, which doesn't have anything to do in the amenities tab, which in the amenities tab, we're just listing local partnered venues such as lodging and car rental and things like that. But we're not actually adding in creating a discount code. We would just be providing a discount code that like the hotel provided in that section, so that when the player goes to that lodging's or that hotel's URL, they have the discount code right there that they can enter in when they make payment.
Yeah, that makes sense. Somebody was maybe thinking it was also for PT perks, but I'm not sure about that either. Okay, I think, Patty, what about designated courts versus next available? What do you typically do for your tournaments?
I have always done next available. I just feel like it's a benefit to the players. For one, to everybody gets equal. Like if there's a bad court, or something, you make sure that you share that. Or a great court, like there's a championship court and everyone wants to play on it. I always just have felt like it makes the tournament go faster. But I do know that there's a lot of people that enjoy having one or two courts designated for, say, a round robin. They just go over there with a court monitor or whatever and play their rounds and then report their scores back. So I think that is also a good option. It's just not something that I've done a lot of. But yeah, I do the next available.
Mm-hmm. Jim, you're full of questions today. I love it. What time limit, such as 30 minutes for 1 to 15, and what about other simulator times, 2 out of 3 to 11 playoffs? I usually do 1 game to 15. Like if I'm using designated courts, I'll do 1 game to 15, 25 minutes, 1 game to 11, 20 minutes, 2 out of 3, minimum 15 minutes. As the levels increase, like 4 or 5 and above, I'll add a few minutes onto that as well. So minimum like a 5-0, 1 game to 15, I'd say minimum is 30 minutes. Again, on designated courts, add a few extra minutes if you are having your people come on and off the court. And sometimes even for that older generation, or if it's projected to be really hot, you may also want to add a few extra minutes in those matches as well. Anybody else have anything to add in that, and how many minutes to kind of account for tournament matches?
The size of the venue might matter.
I think,
yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
I think Brandon's just like a little bit delayed.
No, you're perfect. Yeah. So that's exactly what I was going to say. The size of the venue plays into it big time. If you're not centrally located at your venue and you're on the outside, it may take players after an announcement 5 minutes to even get to a court, and then another 5 minutes to come off. So, if we're averaging 20 minutes worth of play, you're going to want to put in 30 minutes in that time frame just to take the time to get to the court and get back to the court. And then you also have the time it takes you to punch in a score, to empty a court if you're using Court Desk before you can send out, those notifications for somebody else to go. If you're directly on the court, you don't really have to worry about all of that additional time that it takes for them to come to and from a table or a desk if you're running that. So if they're directly on those courts, they're going on and off, you can actually reduce that number down some because of that. You lose all of that additional travel time. So.
Brandon, I think these next two questions may be directed at you. Jeannie is asking, can Pickleball Tournament Support review a tournament in simulator and give input? And is there a cost involved for that?
We can definitely review. If you just want to send in your information and just have us take a look at that, that is completely fine and completely free. Generally, we do Zoom training sessions only for first-time tournament directors when we do those for free. But if you're only running one a year, you may not have that knowledge or remember that knowledge from the previous years, or things might have changed. So we have no problem if you're only running one every year or so to hop on for a 30-minute review, take a look at what you set up already, and just give you those pointers and assistance.
And then the other question I think for you is, if a partner doesn't pay, the software does not allow me to put him on the wait list if there is room in the bracket. Can we please change this so someone who doesn't pay can be put on the wait list? Is that a feature that you know of that is coming down the pike, or is that not something that's coming down the pike yet?
I'm not sure I quite understand the question. At any point in time, you can move somebody to a wait list or move them off of a wait list and into a main draw, whether they've paid or not. That is not a requirement for us to actually have somebody in a main draw if they've paid or not. We don't track that. We allow that to be something that you track. The only requirement for us, for somebody to actually show up in registration, is that they completed that registration. So if you're listing an option as on-site payment or pay later, we are not forcing them to pay to complete that registration. They can sign up without making payment, or if you manually add players in without and select that pay later option so that they would have to come on and pay later, they would be considered registered without making payment. But payment is not something that we require to be done to put them in a live event or move them to the wait list.
Yeah, I think I assumed that it was like an automatic thing, but I do agree with you. If you are allowing players to pay later, that is something that you would have to manually do. I could see the benefit of making that an option. But at the end of the day, you do want players that are going to pay in your tournament. So I would always recommend making them pay right at tournament registrations, and Stripe makes that really easy to do. So I would always recommend not using that pay later feature. Okay, Patty, what are you seeing as the most popular skill divisions for smaller local events, or what are most players looking for?
I would say the most popular is probably 3-5. They like round robin because they get the games. We've previously talked about that. So 3-5-4-0. I mean, the ratings are changing too. Players are the previous 3-5 players are probably would have been a 4-0 in the past. So things are changing a little bit there, but I'd say 3-5 is the most popular.
Mm-hmm. Katie, at what point bracket size do you need to switch from a round robin to a double elimination or single elimination with a consolidation to save on time and court utilization?
Wow, that's a really good question. Because the number of courts you have available total kind of plays into that as well. I would think, round robins are good for maybe up to possibly 9 teams. I think is the largest round robin I've done without splitting it into pools, by the way. So, anything after 10, then you might look at switching over to a double elimination. But, again, I'd rather split and keep it smaller round robins. Split it into pools.
Yep. How do you handle last minute drops and adds to a bracket? Katie, why don't you go ahead and take that?
Okay.
I might have lost Gigi and Patty there for a second. I know we're on it.
I can take that. For the last minute ads in Live Console, you have the option to swap players. And, definitely if registration closes, this is the quickest way to get people in and out. And I say this all the time in my trainings. I don't think I've yet to run a tournament where there's not a last minute change, that I don't wake up the next morning and there's some email. So I think this swap player, so you just go over to the options and check swap player, and it does actually register that player immediately. And they do have to have a pickleball.com account in order for you to swap out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we got through all of our live Q&A. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. I thank my team and my fellow coworkers and Michael from LAO Insurance, or I think he said Leo, I'm not entirely sure, but from our insurance partnership. So thank you, everybody, for watching. This will be available to rewatch if you've had to come and go. I know we ran just a little long, but we also wanted to get all of your tournament questions answered, and this can be a reference for you to go back and see some best practices. So with that, again, thanks for being here, and we will see you next time.